sacred art that take you and I directly to the devotion of the Ethiopian Orthodox tradition. After years of feasibility surveys, Ethiopian government specialists and the UN Cultural and Scientific Organization, UNESCO, agreed that they should be covered by one giant canopy. What if Jesus' final words weren't the end, but the beginning of a message meant for today? Hidden in Ethiopia's rock-carved churches, one of the oldest Bibles was recently scanned by AI, revealing post-resurrection teachings so shocking historians were left speechless. Imagine discovering Jesus' final warning written 2 millennia ago, decoded by AI today. No legend, just ancient scripture, untouched for 2,000 years. Stay with me. This could change everything you thought you knew about faith. Let's begin. The Forbidden Library. Picture this. While most of the Christian world was reading a Bible with 66 books, Ethiopian monks were guarding a version with 88 books. That's 22 extra texts that were deliberately left out of Western Bibles. Why? Because these weren't just stories. These were the actual words Jesus spoke after rising from the dead. Teachings so powerful, so revolutionary, that they threatened the very foundations of organized religion. For centuries, Ethiopian monks risked their lives to protect these manuscripts. They copied every line by hand, hid them in mountain monasteries, and passed them down through wars, invasions, and attempts to erase them from history. But here's where it gets real. In 1950, a scholar named Beatatric Plain discovered something extraordinary at the Abagarama Monastery. 2 ancient gospel books written in Gaius, the ancient language of Ethiopia. For decades, scholars assumed these manuscripts were maybe 900 years old at best. And then AI changed everything. When Oxford University used radiocarbon dating and advanced scanning technology on these texts in the 21st century, they uncovered passages that had been sealed for nearly 2,000 years. Words that were too faded for human eyes suddenly became readable again. The dating revealed something shocking. These manuscripts, known as the Germa Gospels, were created between 330 and 650 CE. The Germa Gospels in Ethiopia are believed to be the oldest illustrated Christian manuscripts. Scholars previously dated the manuscripts to around 1100 AD, but recent carbon dating has placed the documents to somewhere between 330 and 650 AD. That makes them possibly the oldest complete illuminated Christian manuscripts in existence, older than anything found in Rome, older than the Syrian texts, older than most people thought possible. We're talking about books written on goatskin tin and in thick, decorated with vivid colors that have somehow survived for 1,600 years. One scholar described them as battered and well-thumbed because these aren't museum pieces. These books have been in continuous use in the same monastery, being read by monks every single day since they were created. Think about that. While empires rose and fell, while Rome was burning books it didn't like, while Western Christianity was deciding which texts to ban, these Ethiopian monks just kept reading, kept copying, kept preserving. What they found was explosive. According to the Ethiopian Bible, specifically texts like the Book of the Covenant and the Daskalia, Jesus didn't just die and ascend to heaven. He stayed for 40 days, teaching his closest followers secrets that would never make it into mainstream Christianity. And these weren't feel-good Sunday school lessons. These were warnings, prophecies, and uncomfortable truths about what would happen to his message. Jesus predicted that his words would be twisted. He warned that people would shout his name from rooftops, but ignore everything he actually taught. They'd build massive temples while forgetting that the real temple is the human soul. Sound familiar? He said that in the future religious leaders would use his name for money, power, and control. That faith would become about buildings and rituals instead of love and truth. If that doesn't give you chills in 2025, I don't know what will. Jesus spoke about a time when lies would be accepted as truth, when families would turn against each other, when people would lose touch with their inner spirit and try to fill the void with material possessions, distractions, and arrogance. He called it the walking death. When your heart beats, but your soul is asleep. Think about our world right now. Endless scrolling, constant consumption. People more connected than ever, yet feeling completely empty inside. Jesus saw this coming 2,000 years ago. Here's where it gets really controversial. The Ethiopian texts explicitly warn about fake religious leaders. People who would look holy, sound holy, but would actually harm the vulnerable people they're supposed to protect. Jesus told his followers to avoid these leaders at all costs. He said, "True holiness isn't about fancy robes or loud prayers. It's about genuine compassion, truth, and service to others." And yet these are exactly the texts that were banned from the Western Bible. Coincidence? I'll let you decide. The secret teachings. But the warnings are just the beginning. The Ethiopian Bible contains teachings about life, death, and the nature of reality that go way deeper than anything you've heard before. Here's something most people don't know. The Book of Enoch, one of the most controversial texts ever written, survives in its complete form only in Ethiopia. While fragments were found among the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 1950s, Ethiopia had been reading the full text for 1,600 years. When Scottish explorer James Bruce brought copies of the Book of Enoch to Europe in the 1770s, it created a sensation. The first English translation in 1821 caused the same kind of excitement as the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls would later cause. Because Enoch contains material that blows apart conventional theology. It talks about fallen angels, the Nephilim, why the Genesis flood happened, and detailed prophecies about the Messiah. The New Testament quotes directly from it. The Book of Jude cites Enoch word for word, and yet it was banned from Western Bibles. But Ethiopia kept it. They made it part of their official canon. And it has shaped their entire understanding of Christianity. Jesus taught that death isn't the end. It's just the body wearing out like old clothes. The soul returns to God's light, to its true home. He told his followers not to fear death, but to fear living without spirit, that walking death we talked about earlier. According to these texts, every thought, every emotion carries spiritual weight. Your inner life is constantly either lifting your soul toward light or pulling it toward darkness. Jesus emphasized that the kingdom of God isn't some faraway place in the clouds. It's within you. Your soul is the true temple. Every act of kindness, every moment of forgiveness, every expression of genuine love awakens the divine light inside you. The Ethiopian texts describe prayer as more than just words. It's about your breath, your movements, your silence. True prayer involves your entire being, body, mind, and spirit in complete alignment. And then there are the really wild parts. Some of these ancient texts speak about two creators. One who made the true light, and another who created shadows. A prideful being who built a world that looked beautiful but was empty, soulless. This being wanted to control everything and claimed to be the only God, ignoring the greater light above. Because of this cosmic conflict, our world is a mixture. Truth and deception, light and shadow, real and illusion. Jesus said he came not just to save people from sin, but to wake them up from this illusion, to remind them that the genuine light of God exists within everything, even in the darkest places. This isn't the Sunday school version of Jesus, is it? Why Ethiopia kept what Rome erased. What if I told you that for over 2,000 years, a secret branch of Christianity survived, untouched by Rome, unaltered by politics, and hidden in plain sight in the mountains of Ethiopia? While most of the world forgot, Ethiopia preserved what much of Christianity lost: sacred texts, hidden teachings, and the real, unfiltered words of Christ. To understand why, we need to journey back centuries and climb high into the northern mountains of Ethiopia, about 2 meters above sea level. Here stand 11 churches carved entirely from solid volcanic rock, architectural wonders that seem almost otherworldly. 5 of the 11 churches have these canopies. In the 12th century, King Liabela had a vision. After Christian pilgrimages to Jerusalem became impossible due to Muslim conquests, he decided to create a new Jerusalem in Ethiopia. But he didn't simply build it. He carved it from the mountain itself. Over 24 years, workers dug trenches, shaped massive monolithic blocks, and hollowed them out to form pillars, windows, doors, arches, and entire interiors. It's affected by human. You can see the horse. Previous attempts to protect them have had mixed results. Some churches are freestanding in their own pits, while others are connected by labyrinthine tunnels and passageways. The most famous Beitiorgis, the Church of St. George, is carved in the shape of a perfect cross 15 meters deep. From above, it looks almost supernatural, geometrically precise, as if designed by a higher power. UNESCO calls these churches a unique artistic achievement, placing them alongside the pyramids of Egypt and the Great Wall of China. These churches are not ruins. They are living monuments of faith. Every year, over 100,000 pilgrims arrive chanting ancient prayers, while the scent of incense fills the air. This is the culture that preserved the forbidden and hidden teachings of Jesus. For centuries, Ethiopian monks painstakingly copied manuscripts by candlelight. They weren't preserving texts to wield power or create doctrine. They were safeguarding God's unfiltered truth for generations yet to come. Ethiopia's spiritual life is equally breathtaking. Every January 19th, the nation celebrates Timkat, the Ethiopian Epiphany, one of the most spectacular religious festivals on earth. Hundreds of thousands gather in brilliant white robes. Priests in colorful, ornate garments carry sacred tabs, replicas of the Ark of the Covenant, through the streets to rivers or specially prepared baptismal pools. At dawn, the water is blessed, symbolizing the baptism of Jesus in the Jordan River. Thousands of the faithful plunge fully into the water, renewing their baptismal vows. Drums, thunder, choirs sing in gaze, the ancient language of the Ethiopian church, and incense fills the morning mist. For nearly 1,500 years, this festival has connected generations to a living spiritual tradition. Many Ethiopians believe something even more extraordinary, that the real Ark of the Covenant, the one Moses built, is kept in Axum, guarded by a single monk who dedicates his life entirely to prayer. The Ark is said to have been brought to Ethiopia by Menelik the Fear, the son of the Queen of Sheba and King Solomon. According to the Kabra Nagast, Menelik returned from Jerusalem with the Ark, replacing it with a replica in Solomon's temple. While outsiders may dismiss this as legend, the story has shaped Ethiopian Christianity for millennia, instilling a profound reverence for sacred objects and texts. Ethiopia's faith developed independently of Rome. While the Roman Empire debated which Christian texts to preserve or destroy, Ethiopia kept everything. The monks didn't filter teachings to suit politics. They preserved what they believed was divine truth. Manuscripts like those in Abagarima Monastery, believed to be the oldest illuminated Christian texts in the world, survived centuries of warfare. and invasion. During the 1530s, Muslim forces threatened the monastery. In 1896, Italian invaders battled nearby. In the early 20th century, fires destroyed parts of the church. Yet the manuscripts endured, protected by devotion, faith, and an unshakable belief that God had preserved them. The German Gospels, some 1,600 years old, are a prime example. Their pages, painstakingly handwritten and illuminated by monks, survived through countless upheavals. The monks' philosophy was simple yet profound. God's truth was not theirs to decide. It was theirs to protect. Their dedication ensured that these sacred teachings remained intact when much of the world had lost its texts to politics, councils, or conquest. Ethiopia's independence played a crucial role. The country was never fully colonized, defeating Italian forces at the Battle of Adwa in 1896. Its faith, language, and sacred texts remained intact. Ethiopian Christianity developed into a mystical, deeply spiritual, and intensely personal tradition. While Rome dictated orthodoxy elsewhere, Ethiopian monks saw themselves not as authorities deciding doctrine, but as guardians of a sacred trust. And Ethiopia's connection to biblical history runs deep. Many Ethiopians trace their lineage to the Solomonic dynasty, claiming descent from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Emperor Haile Selassie, who ruled until 1974, was said to be the 225th monarch in this line. This cultural and spiritual continuity is unparalleled, allowing Ethiopia to preserve texts and practices untouched by outside influence. But why does this matter today? Because these preserved texts include teachings of Jesus that were lost or erased elsewhere. While Rome and other powers selected which books to canonize, Ethiopia preserved the full spectrum of early Christian thought. These are texts that speak of love, enlightenment, and the eternal nature of the soul. Teachings that challenge the way much of the world interprets Christianity. Even more remarkable is how these texts survived through some of history's most tumultuous events. The Abagarima monastery endured invasions, wars, and natural disasters. Manuscripts that could have been destroyed were saved through devotion and belief passed down carefully from monk to monk. They weren't hidden for fame or prestige. They were safeguarded for a time when the world might once again need them. And now, in the modern era, AI is helping scholars finally read these texts in full, revealing insights that could reshape our understanding of early Christianity. Ethiopia is more than a country. It is a living archive, a spiritual fortress, where faith, history, and culture intersect. Its churches, festivals, manuscripts, and monastic traditions testify to a devotion that endured millennia, ensuring that some of humanity's most profound spiritual truths survived. While much of the world forgot, Ethiopia remembered. And in remembering it, preserved a treasure that may speak to the modern world in ways few could have anticipated. For 2,000 years, Ethiopian monks safeguarded these words. Not for power, not for doctrine, but because they believed future generations would need them. And looking at our world today with its spiritual searching, social upheaval, and moral questions, perhaps they were right. The German Gospels, the Rakhune churches of Laibela, the Timkat festival, and the Ark in Aksum, they all tell a story of resilience, faith, and unbroken devotion. The lesson Ethiopia teaches is profound. Truth can survive the harshest trials, and sometimes the most extraordinary discoveries are hidden in the most remote, unexpected places, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And now, as modern technology finally allows us to unlock these ancient texts, the world is beginning to understand why Ethiopia's faith endured when so much else was lost. In preserving these teachings, Ethiopia didn't just protect history, it preserved a message for humanity. And perhaps now, after 2,000 years, the world is finally ready to hear it. The message that changes everything. So what do we do with all this information? The Ethiopian Bible isn't asking you to abandon your faith. It's asking you to deepen it, to look beyond the rituals and the buildings and ask yourself, am I living with a spirit that's awake, or am I one of the walking dead? These ancient texts emphasize the same themes over and over. Love over power, truth over comfort, inner transformation over external performance, humble service over religious showmanship, connection to the divine within, not just worship of the divine above. Jesus taught that the kingdom of God isn't built by armies or institutions. It's built by ordinary people choosing love when hate is easier, choosing truth when lies are profitable, choosing faith when the world says, give up. The Ethiopian texts describe Jesus supporting the modest, the overlooked, the quietly faithful, not the loud and powerful. And maybe that's the most radical teaching of all. These writings promise that Jesus' true spirit will return not in grand temples or through famous preachers, but in the peaceful hearts of humble, hurting people. Those who are genuine and pure-hearted will feel it deep within themselves. It won't look like what religious institutions expect. It will be a fire that purifies, burning away lies, pride and deception, revealing the truth to the soul. Perhaps that fire is already here. Perhaps it's been quietly burning in the hearts of those who refuse to let love die, who insist on truth when everyone else accepts comfortable lies. Perhaps the revolution Jesus predicted isn't coming from outside. It's awakening from within. Think about the Ethiopian monks who preserved these words for 2,000 years. They lived in some of the harshest conditions imaginable. Mountain monasteries, extreme poverty, constant threat of invasion. They could have given up. They could have decided it wasn't worth it. But they didn't, because they believed these words mattered. That truth matters. That somewhere, someday, people would need to hear what Jesus really said. Not what powerful men decided he said, but his actual words preserved in their original power. And now, thanks to modern technology, we can finally read texts that have been sealed for centuries. AI scanning technology revealed words in manuscripts that were too faded for human eyes to see. Radiocarbon dating proved that texts dismissed as medieval forgeries were actually written in the earliest days of Christianity. The story keeps getting more incredible the deeper we dig. When you watch the Timkat celebrations, hundreds of thousands of people gathered in joyful worship, carrying replicas of the Ark through the streets, renewing their faith in rivers blessed at dawn. You're seeing an unbroken chain of belief stretching back to the time when Christianity was young. These aren't people following traditions they don't understand. They're living witnesses to a form of Christianity that predates everything the Western world knows. They've kept teachings about inner transformation, about the soul being the true temple, about faith being something you live rather than something you perform. And they've done it not through power or conquest, but through quiet, stubborn devotion to truth. If this video made you rethink faith history or what you've been taught, hit like and subscribe. Drop a comment. What shocked you most? The German Gospels being older than anyone expected. The warnings that sound like today, or an entire hidden branch of Christianity in Africa want to go deeper. Check out the video in the cards about the Book of Apia, Book of Enoch. Ancient teachings that survived only in Ethiopia. The truth has always been out there. Sometimes you just have to know where to look. Stay curious, stay questioning, stay awake.